Well, hello, everyone. I know we gave you a little bit of suspense, but obviously the suspense is over. You see who I'm talking to. For those of you who don't know him, this is Ken Travis. Ken, I'm going to let you talk a little bit about who you are, but this before you do, this is really something that just makes me so happy on so many different levels. Okay. Makes me happy to be speaking to a peer who truly is exceptional. And you'll see this through our conversation, but someone that I've actually watched become as successful as he is. And maybe most importantly, and you're going to see it through this conversation, we're unrehearsed, by the way, which is the way I like this. So Ken never knows what I'm going to say. I have no idea what he's going to say, but we both probably kind of have an idea what each other's going to say. But we don't have a script. This is completely, just a free flowing conversation. But you'll see by the end of this that there'll be some nuggets dropped for you, real takeaways. Ken has something that very few people have, and that is a way of being genuine and humble, and at the same time being completely confident because of years of success and experience. I know I'm making him blush, but that's okay because it is true, and you'll see it. And it's a rare person. Most people that have a lot of confidence tend to be very, very arrogant. And I mean, I've been accused of being arrogant. I'm not arrogant. I really am not. I'm the most non-arrogant person you'll ever meet, and I hate arrogance. But I am set in my ways, and I will tell you how I feel. And the feelings bounce wherever they bounce, and that's all good. But I prefer honesty over bullshit, and it's part of why I think I'm so excited to have Ken on today, and an announcement we're going to make shortly. But um, this is straight from the heart, straight from the experience, and straight to you. So I hope you all do something with it. So I'm sorry I went long-winded there, Ken, but
No, it's great.
go ahead. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
thanks for the wonderful introduction. I certainly appreciate that, and have a high level of respect for you, Brian. You know that we've known each other for a long time. I wouldn't describe you as arrogant at all. You're very. I always like to describe Brian as matter of fact. Like you're very direct and matter of fact. So I love that about you. I think that's what makes you such a great coach. In who who I am today. I do. I've told you, I've shared this with you. Maybe you've blushed a little bit as well, but I contribute a lot of that success to you in my early days of my career. For you guys that don't know, I got into business in 2003. I worked for a broker who taught me to fake it till you make it. That didn't work for me. Um, kind of, muscled my way through the industry. I struggled, lived paycheck to paycheck, and finally got a big commission check and was able to have a little staying power, so to speak, right? Because a lot of originators, I think they get into this industry and they're just underfinanced, right? And I got in at the right time. And anyway, a couple of years later, I got to a point, Brian, where I was like, I need coaching. I need someone to help me. And I was able to plug into some of the coaching platforms and, tools and resources and programs that you had at the time. And it made me nervous for a lot of reasons, but it was a great experience for me. And I always like to say, Brian Sachs kind of catapulted me to that next level. And things change, opportunities change, and I think you'd went in a new direction, and I still continued on the path of the mortgage industry, and just over the years got better and better and better. But what I've learned from all of the years of being in this business is it's a process, and it doesn't happen overnight, and you have to be willing to do the work and implement the strategies and the ideas, not overcomplicate it. I think that happens a lot of times, but I've had tremendous amount of success. I've had a tremendous amount of struggles. I think that, after all the years of success, not just for me, but a lot of loan officers that are out there, Brian, they've lost their confidence over the last 2 years.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
yeah,
100% true. I mean, look, I'm just going to tell you all, if you're watching this and you got kids around, get them out of the room. okay? Because I'm going to just really freeform here. And look, we all, male or female, we got kicked in the nuts for the last 2 years. I mean, there's
Yeah.
no nice way to say it. And the fact that we're here and the fact that you're here, even watching this with Ken and I, is really a testament to your fortitude because it's been a ugly, ugly couple years. And I thought I saw ugly in '08, and I thought I saw ugly in '99, and I thought I saw ugly in 2000. Man, this is ugly.
Yeah.
And you said something so important, Ken, and I don't want to just fluff over it. We were under financed. Many of you are under financed. And I always liken it to this. My father, he should rest in peace. He had a shoe store. Okay. And it was, talk about a struggle. He was in a poor neighborhood and he struggled. And I always said, well, what would happen if he can only afford to buy wholesale size 7 and 8 shoes? Does that mean anybody with a 6, 9, 10, or 11 couldn't come in? Can you imagine a restaurant that doesn't really go out and have to buy food and do some marketing? It's the same thing in our industry. Folks, your inventory is your brand, it is your knowledge, it is your tools. And if you don't have the right tools and you don't invest in your education, you can't really succeed unless you want to do it the ugly way, which is the way I did it, by the way. I didn't know what the hell I was doing for 10 years. I went out and I just worked hard. I worked 7 days a week. I kissed every butt in Baltimore. That was a real estate agent or a builder. I brought all kind of food. I mean, you can't even do that now because who are you bringing food to? Nobody's in the office anymore, unless you want to send them virtual food, I guess. But you can't send the real food. The days of dropping off rate sheets, donuts, you can't even do that anymore. It's even harder. And so many loan officers I've spoken with, Ken, are my age. They're in their 50s. Okay. And everything's shifted, everything's changed. And they're going, oh my God, now what do I do? I just got off a phone call with someone I'm coaching right now, Ken. And I said to him, I said, what are you doing? Are you calling agents you haven't dealt with in 6 and 8 months and going, I'm just calling to see if you're still alive because I haven't heard from you in 6 or 8 months? Awkward. What do you say? And you know what happens? You stop talking to them. So they don't call you, you call them, they don't call, and then you just stop. And so what does that mean? That means that you, as a loan officer, have an opportunity to take advantage of all these agents who've now separated from the people that they were working with. It's a huge opportunity. But I'm sorry, I have to make that point because this isn't the kind of business you get in for free. And you just, you have to invest in your business. Everyone has to invest in their business, and you have to do it smartly with the right tools and the right people.
Yeah, I think a lot of loan officers just make the mistake of sitting on the sidelines. They don't get in the game and they hope.
Yeah.
And hope's not a strategy, something
Hope,
that I learned a long, long time ago. And you got to be willing to I think you're right, Brian. I think that a lot of loan officers, they're chasing business, they're chasing these realtors, and some of them aren't even chasing at all. But I think what's important to understand is you really have to depend on yourself, right? You have to really, take matters into your own hands and create ways to, to get to be an attractant, right? And to sell people on using your services before you've even spoken to them, right? That's always been something that's just kind of always been embedded into my business. You and I were talking the other day, and you had mentioned something about my website, and it's so interesting because a lot of people, when they call our office, or they say, "Oh, I seen you on, your Facebook page. You had a lot of videos on there. You had videos on YouTube. You have all these videos. I feel like I know you, and I have never even spoken to you." And so when they're saying hello, it's like I'm talking to a friend that I've
mhm.
never met before because they like, know, and trust me. I did that in advance. And a lot of times, if you got a lot of good reviews, you put in the time, energy, and effort to make that important in your business, it changes things. Like it makes a difference.
Well, your YouTubes are exceptional. I've been watching them, the ones about different neighborhoods and different areas of Texas, and your personality shines. And look, the reality is that yes, you want people to know, like, and trust you because look, as mortgage bankers or brokers or whatever the public views us as, they don't trust us. And there's been movies made about how disgusting and horrible we are. We caused the crash of 2008.
Right.
Not the people on Wall Street who put it all together, us. We did it. And so we got a lot to overcome when you're first meeting a client. So I'm going to ask you something. And this is a question I like to ask, Ken. Why should you be a trainer in the mortgage business? Why should you be a coach? Why should anyone listen to you? How do we know you're not full of shit? How do you guys know I'm not full of shit? I mean, how do you know? Why should anyone even pay attention to anything we say?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that there's a lot of platforms in our industry that aren't giving what I would consider high level value in terms of helping you move the needle in your business genuinely. I think that people get distracted a lot of times with like new shiny objects, bells and whistles, smoke and mirrors, things that maybe are good tactically, but they're not good from a perspective of consistency, um, things that are applicable, that are done for you, right? Because a lot of times loan officers, they don't want, some of them don't want to go through the labor pains. They just want to see the baby. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? We want the easy button, right? And although you can, in my opinion, I feel like you can give loan officers an easy button, but at the same time, it's more, for me, the easy button is the blueprint, right? Not that still requires work and still requires you to implement things in your business. Um, no one, the thing about the mortgage industry, in my opinion, Brian, nobody wants a mortgage. It's not a sexy thing. Okay. Mortgages aren't sexy. Originating mortgages, nothing sexy about it. Right. And so I think that, when we understand that people don't want a mortgage and they want a home, and when we really ask ourselves as originators, what are we selling? And I know you'd posted something, and we were talking about the other day, and it was so profound to me. I think it was something, and you correct me here because I'm not. I read it one time. It was like a hammer or a hoe. What does the customer
Why
want?
you buy a hammer and a nail? You're not buying a hammer and a nail because you want a hammer and a nail. You're
Right.
buying a hammer and a nail because you want a hole. Sell
Right.
the hole. Sell the lifestyle in the white picket fenced home where your equity is going to grow and you're going to raise your family or whatever the case may be. But nobody buys the hammer and nail to have a hammer and nail. They want a hole in the wall. That's the end result.
Yeah. Like,
100%, hundred
yeah.
percent.
But I think for me, what I believe qualifies me, to be in the position that I'm in, and I feel like I can stand on the ground and tell the truth in regards of, the things that I've done. I have failed. I have succeeded. I have failed again. I've gotten to the top and I've crashed and burned, and I'm like the Phoenix, rising again. And we go through those evolutions in our mortgage business. Depending on the economics. But my belief system's always been, I don't care what the economics of the industry is, I'm still going to be successful. I just have to be willing to adjust and adapt and overcome to my, to the industry, the current industry that we might be facing. I think that, I look back on my career, Brian, and I'm like, man, I've come so far, right? Just to get kicked in the nuts, 2 years ago. And I've said this publicly before, in 2022, it was a break even year. I was trying to keep as many people that I could on my team, and
Well, you're
and
lucky. That's
yeah,
better than most.
yeah, exactly. And man, breaking even is like kissing your sister, man. Nobody wants to do that, and so I ended up breaking even. But I feel like that I've paved the way, so to speak. I've put in the dues, I put in the time, energy and effort. I'm still learning. I never stop learning. I'm always learning. I'm a student.
That's profound. See,
Yeah.
that's
I,
profound.
yeah. I'm a student still. but sometimes I'm the teacher. Sometimes I'm the example, right? I'm the example of what not to do, you know, I'm the
Yep.
example of what to do. And I think if you keep that mindset, I think you know, it definitely, you know, never stop learning, right? Never stop stopping in that regard. But I look at my career and, you know, I even go back to the early days. It's like, you don't know what you don't know. You got these blinders on. You don't know, you know, what to do. You don't know what direction to go. And you said it, you have to invest in yourself, right? And, you know, when you invest in yourself, and put in the work, it will come, but you got to understand that it's a process. But I think, you know, I've been coaching for well over 10 years, or right at around 10 years, been in the business for about 21 years. And for me, coaching, you know, loan officers has made me a better coach, right? I learn a lot of times when I'm coaching, you
Mhm.
know, because I hear different perspectives and different challenges and struggles. And you're like, oh, I've never, as a coach, never really thought about those things. So just feel like it gives me a little bit more perspective. But, you know, I've been on the high, I've been on the rise, and I've been on the fall. And I think it takes, you know, a certain type of person to be able to, you know, most originators, they talk about, they do, man. Loans talk about their success. Never rare that you find them talking about their struggles. I think that is a big need in our industry, right? Everyone wants to boast about what they've done, probably 1 month out of the year, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's not a lot of transparency. There's not always a lot of truth in what people are telling you. People would rather look good and sound good than actually be good.
Well, I'm going to tell you something worse than that, maybe. There's a fair percentage of gurus in our space who haven't originated a loan in maybe there's three that come to my face that I can see, two that were in a coaching program of mine who don't originate. Okay. And if you didn't originate in the last 2 years, dare you? How dare you give anyone advice? Shame on you. Really. You know who you are. Shame on you. Because if you don't know the pain and you don't know the tactics that have to really come to the surface to be successful during these last couple challenging years, you don't have a right to tell me anything. You really don't. And again, I'm going to be straight up honest, not going to mention names. They know if they're watching, they know who they are. There's a couple of them, and one of them's having a workshop soon online. And at first I laughed, and then I sort of like, that ain't funny because some poor guy or lady is going to watch this and think this is actually true, that you really can do what this person is saying. It's just not true. So I'll switch gears for a second, Ken. One of the questions I'm sure you're asked as a coach, and one of the questions am always asked as a coach is, what's my best strategy? What's number one? What's number one?
Okay. Yeah. For me, man, I've got probably three that are number ones, but I think the one that has worked best for me in this market is education. I think that leading with education in this market has been substantial for me and our team. We had a pretty good 2023. 2024 has just, I mean, even this month, our business is just, you know, I feel like I'm back in 2020 to some
Uh,
degree. And and when I say lead with education, you know, no one, there's not a lot of loan officers that do that. Like they might do it one-on-one, but they don't do it in like a group setting. And so for me, it's getting plugged into my local, in my area, it's the Longview Board of Realtors. I get plugged in. I do a class every single month. Every month. It's a non-negotiable in my business. I do a class every month. I have anywhere from, you know, 15 to 50 agents show up and we educate. And, you know, we talk about, you know, FHA is the way, zero down around town, which covers VA and USDA loans. We talk about, I do legal and ethic class for real estate agents. Doesn't matter if they're CE approved or not. I see approved some of them I don't. Guess what? I still have people show up. We did a wine tasting class, but there's a class every single month. And I do the same classes twice a year, and it's all year round. And all of the realtors in my community, they get an opportunity to get in front of me and hear me speak and talk and tell them the differences of me and other lenders, right, in the area. But more importantly, I'm helping them, I'm teaching them different loan products and things that are available, whether it's a non-QM class, and I'm giving them tools, resources, but more importantly, giving them knowledge. And I'm encouraging them, Brian. I'm like, hey guys, y'all need to like get your butt in gear. And they're just like, oh my God, why is this? Who's this lender up here yelling at us about getting our butt in gear? And I tell them, I said, man, we have a fiduciary duty to educate our consumers in our community. You guys talk about, oh, I'm always representing the client and got to look out for the client's best interest. Then educate them. I can't do it by myself. I need you guys to help me educate the consumer market. Did you know you can buy a house with, less than a 600 credit score, right? If that's your market, or whatever it is that you want them to know, you teach them that, and then you show them the results to it. And it's so funny because every month that we have these classes, and I'm not embellishing this, Brian. This happens every single time. I'll walk out with 1 to 5 referrals every time.
100%. But you got a whole bunch of new contacts that you can start. These people, it's funny, when I just taught a class last month at the Baltimore Board of Realtors, and I had an agent, it was on investment properties and DSCR loans. And the agent came up to me, so help me God, on my kids, and said, can we have lunch? And gave me her card. I didn't ask her for coffee. I didn't ask her for lunch, and I'm not having lunch with her. But she asked me to lunch. She gave me her card and said, so I want to pull out of this, Ken, a couple of things that are important. Number one thing that's important is what you're being taught and why it's not working. Okay. You're being taught to use a script and call people on Mondays, and you're just annoying them. And for those of you that are implementers, all of you are calling these agents on Monday. And I mean, think about it. Think if title reps called you every Monday begging for title business. Are you going to be happy or hang up on them? Okay. So the big idea here is one to many. You've heard me say that. It's not one to one, it's one to many. You want to go after 50 realtors, put 50 in chairs. Teach them something. Number two, and again, we're very in sync. You're teaching them to do what they want to do most, which is sell more homes. That's all they want to do. They want to sell more homes. You're empowering them with knowledge to help them sell more homes. And they get to know, like, and trust you. And this is the big, big, big difference. And this is really why I think you and I exist, or should exist, and need to exist. Okay?
Yeah.
Is because everything you're being taught is giving you techniques to go chase people. And I was a great chaser. Ken, you were probably a great chaser too. And when you step back and you say, instead of me chasing, how do I get them coming to me, wanting to do business with me? Well, then everything changes. And you may have heard me say this, and I'm sure you've heard me say it actually, and I hope you agree with it. You all think you're loan officers. That's not your job. I used to say you could train a monkey to take a loan application, but you don't even need a monkey anymore. You can have a robot do it with AI, right? I mean, you can go to ATM machine, apply for a mortgage. So why do you exist as a loan officer? What's your goal? What's your real deep down goal? It is to do this. Create more demand for your services than you could possibly ever have enough time for. And then when that agent comes, it's a pain in the ass. You say, sorry, you're a pain in the ass. Can't deal with you anymore. Have a nice day.
Which is uncommon, right? You don't hear that very often, but it's true. Like there's some realtors you just don't want to work with. Before you even said what you were going to say, I was thinking in my head, when you asked the question, what do we do as loan officers? Immediately I said in my head, before you even described it, marketer of our services. And we are. We're a marketer 100%. Of our services.
Marketer of your services, because the ATM machine can replace you next month.
Yeah.
So, be really, these are things that, I've been sort of sitting in on lots of different coaching groups and coaching sessions. I never hear anybody talk about this. And it scares me. It scares me because what are we what's being taught out there to the originators? I mean, we don't have room for mistakes right now. Most of the people in our industry, this is supposed to be our good year, coming off the 2 bad years. We don't have time for nonsense or stuff that's just going to send us, in circles. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So,
It's interesting too, because even the things that you are going to start teaching real estate agents, right? Because sometimes loan officers get caught up in the unimportant stuff. Like, what am I going to say? And all these things. Listen, when I teach classes, doesn't matter what I teach. I could teach DSC or non-QM loans only every month, nonstop. That's all I would teach. Well, guess what? I'd probably be 5% of my referral business
yeah,
because they're still referring you, transactions that are, traditional type of loans, which is still the majority of most of our business. You're just taking the 5% of our business and showing them, hey, you've got special programs and products, or, whatever it is that who you represent, what you sell, and what products you have to offer. They don't care. They just want to be educated. They want to know that you care. They want to know that you have knowledge, about what you're talking about. And to your point, Brian, it's your time. Have you ever gone and heard someone speak and thought, oh, this person don't know what the hell they're talking about? No, we sit in the audience everywhere we go, regardless of who's speaking, we automatically give them, they're the credible person, even if they're not. Why? Because they're sitting in front of the room and they're speaking. They have the courage to get up in front of a room and speak.
100%. And it doesn't even have to be in a room, by the way. You can do Zoom. I do a lot of
Yeah.
Zoom workshops, tons, and partners with title companies because we're both going for the same person. But, I don't believe in scripts. I believe in frameworks, but I don't believe in scripts because, in my opinion, it encourages you to sound robotic and stupid. And so I don't encourage it. But I am going to tell you something that really works. And when you meet an agent for the first time and you say to them, look, I understand this relationship. You're trusting me with your commission check. Okay. You're trusting me with it because if I screw up, you ain't getting paid. And you're trusting me with your reputation because if you refer me and I screw up, that's on you. If you refer me, I do a great job, that's on us. We did good. So let's get to the bottom of the essence of this relationship. That's the essence of the relationship. You're trusting me with your commission check and you're trusting me with your reputation. And you know what that does? It bonds them to you like this. As long as you're honest and reputable and do what you say, even if you screw up a deal, as long as you're honest about it and fix it or try to fix it. Okay. But that's not people, we're being taught to look at agents as transactional instead of relationship wise. And I know you have tremendous relationships with your agents, Ken.
Yeah. I also have some I don't want to work with,
Right.
and that's okay. But
Yep.
most loan officers are, yeah, I call it, they grovel,
Uh-huh.
right? They grovel, they beg for business, they chase business. And realtors, I feel like they sense that, they smell it. It's like in the air, and they see that weakness and they'll take advantage of it. They'll treat you um, not well if you allow it. And so I think that setting that relationship up the right way is so important, and it's also meaning, like, sometimes you got to have the courage to say no, say you're not a good fit, fire them. I know you fired realtors over the years.
Oh yeah. I had one I fired not long ago that laughed because they thought I was joking. Because they were literally a top producer in the Baltimore market. I go, you can laugh, but don't call me anymore. Laugh to yourself quietly because we're done. I can't work this way. So why am I laughing, Ken? Because Ken's going to tell you I'll tell you the funny story, but Ken will tell you a little bit more about this story. So this is many years ago. I'm reading a book about pickup artists. Okay. And I shared it with Ken, my whole platinum group, but I'm reading a book about pickup artists. I'm on a cruise with my wife, and in the cover of this book, it's a big book, and the cover it is a naked woman, not a picture of a woman, but the outline of a
Like a
naked woman.
shadow. Yeah.
Yeah, like you'd see on the back of a truck, 18-wheeler. on the flaps. You see them sometimes. So my wife comes out and she goes, "Is there something you need to tell me?" I go, "What do you mean?" I wasn't even on my radar. Like, what are you talking about? She goes, "Why are you reading a book about being a pickup artist? Like, aren't you're not happily married anymore?" I go, "No, I'm very happily married. This is a marketing book." And her first words were bullshit. And then I had to actually show her what I was highlighting to show that it really was a marketing book. But there's a lot you can learn about being a marketer. If you walk into a bar and you want to pick someone up, whether you're a male or a female, and you're on your knees begging and groveling, people are like, "Whoa, whoa." The less, the more confident and standoffish you are, the more attractive you are. See, a lot of this is all about mindset, persuasion, and uh,
Influence.
influence. And no one teaches that. Ken teaches it. I teach it. No one else I've seen even knows about it, candidly. And it's very subtle. It's very subtle, but it's very, very, very effective. The words you use, the way you stand, what you look like, all of it matters. And it matters a lot because it sends messages. So you and I were talking about that the other day, that book. When I thought my wife was going to divorce me, I'm reading a book about pickup artists. If
Well,
you,
the same thing happened to me. I started reading. I thought, well, let me read it. Brian's reading it. I got to read it. And I had the very similar reaction to it. It's just,
yep,
yeah, there's a little bit of a hesitation. If those are listening, like it's, the book's called The Game by Neil Strauss. It's a great book. I have it on Audible. I'm about due to listen to it again, but you're right. Anchoring, mirroring, influence, persuasion. It's very interesting. And, there's a lot of things in that book that I still use to this day that I learned, and it's just it's mind blowing. And it's not to be used for bad, guys. I'm like, it's for good intentions, right? It's to, help people make decisions and put them in a better position, and not
and if
to
you're single,
manipulate
use it
them.
to pick somebody up. That's cool.
Yeah, if
It's
you're
all
single,
good.
if you're not, as long as your initials aren't KT or BS, you're good.
Right, exactly. But I'll tell you another good book also is Influence by Robert Cialdini.
Yeah,
Very, very, very important, sort of foundational persuasion. Our job is to persuade buyers to use us and persuade agents to give us business, not chase, not beg, persuade.
yep,
And um, you giving that class is peacocking in a sense, okay,
yeah,
which is a term from that book.
yep,
It, I'm confident enough to stand up here and share with you all this information that'll help you sell more homes. You guys have to get the book if you want to know what peacocking is, but that's what
yeah,
that is. Um, so yeah, I mean, we've been all around the horn here today. Let's drop
yeah.
some nuggets, Ken.
Okay.
What's working?
I think that now this works for me. I think it works for you too, Brian. I think video marketing is a big, is a way in which we kind of cast that net further with our education. I think it's educating our clients, but in the consumer market with those videos. But it's also important to teach classes to real estate agents, because that's it's a new level of building relationships. It's a credibility. You're educating them. Get out to more people. You're going to get more business. Staying consistent, right?
Can I
It's
stop you
okay.
for a second? Can I
Yeah.
stop? You want to tell them about the land of the blind? Because I am getting the sense that most people listening, yeah, Ken can get up there and teach a class. Yeah, of course, Brian can get up there and teach a class. I'm not Ken, I'm not Brian. So what happens in the land of the blind?
The land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king or queen.
Yep, exactly. So just because you don't know something, they know less than you. So you got nothing to worry about.
Yeah, it's the same with new loan officers. Well, I'm new. I don't know anything. I'm like, yeah, but 98% more than what the consumer market knows.
Yep. Yep. Go ahead. You were talking about consistent. I just had to throw
Oh
it
yeah, it just stay consistent. I think that especially in this market, I think just getting back to consistency, and getting back to, I'm sorry, not getting back to the basics and being consistent with it. I've got a whiteboard up here. You can't see it, but it's got all of my stuff that I lined out for 2024. And I'm going to read some of it. It's social media, right? That's a column, that's a section. morning motivation, realtor connections, video post, one per day. And then classes, and I got all my classes listed. So that's another bullet point. Database. Database management is huge right now, especially if you've originated loans the last 2 years. That database is so important.
Money.
And
It's
yeah,
money.
yeah. We were talking about this the other day. I wrote this down a month and a half ago. Monthly newsletter, mail, right? We're talking about, newsletter. I got City Blue beside it, right? And so, but anyway, we got something else coming out for that that's really interesting that we're trying to implement. Realtors, I put 7. Google SEO reviews are a big thing. I'm very consistent with reviews. I've got, well over 100 reviews on my Google page.
What service do you use for it?
I'm using a service called, you can just use the Google link directly, which is real simple. Especially if you're just an independent loan officer and you don't have a way to, have a service, maybe you're on a budget, which is normal. That's how I started it. But when you start getting big enough and you're closing enough loans, we have a service called Connected. It's LO Ninja, and it's part of my CRM, and phenomenal CRM. And then video ads, YouTube. So still a lot of video stuff going on here. Events, and then pop buys, right? And the pop buys are like the smallest thing on the list. And it's only a couple of times a year for certain things. And it's really outside the box stuff I'm doing. Like, we do pie deliveries, a certain time of year. We'll do something for Valentine's Day. We'll send an ice cream truck around to all the real estate offices, things like that, like things that just aren't to get business, so to speak. It's to appreciate.
Goodwill.
Yeah. It's goodwill. So, but, and you don't have to overcomplicate it. I hear loan officers say, Kenneth, how do you do it? How are you doing it? Like, man, you're doing so well. And I'm like, yeah, what I'm doing, people aren't teaching.
Yeah.
And it's very easy. It's not buying leads. It's not chasing business. It's not, do I call realtors? Yes, but I call a VIP list of realtors, right? And I don't like to call them on Monday. I like to call them on Friday before they go into their weekend. Hey, is there anything you need? And sometimes I don't call them. Sometimes I send them a text. Sometimes I send them a video. There's a lot of different ways you can connect with them. But the most important thing is just letting them know that you're there. I've got a private realtor Facebook group, Brian, and it's realtors that.
Well, that's a big idea.
It's in my market, and it's worked really well for me over the years. And, some things I like to put in there because no one else sees it but my realtors. And that's who I want to see it. I'm putting content that only the realtors see. And it's kind of like hiding the sales. I don't want my competition seeing what I'm doing sometimes. Right.
Smart.
So you put a lot of things in that group, and I think that's helpful. They see it. And then sometimes they see it there, and then they see it on my personal page and, or my business page. But I think keeping it simple is so important. Pick a few things that really work well for you and just stay consistent with them. And that's it. Like, it's not hard. And I think a lot of what loan officers need the most of is what Brian and I were just referring to. It's the influence, it's the persuasion, it's the language, right? It's the things like mirroring and anchoring and, peacocking, using the word because, there's another book from Robert Cialdini called 50 Ways to be Psychologically. It's called Yes, Y-E-S.
Yep.
I think it's 50 ways to be how to be psychologically persuasive. And it's funny, Brian, I don't know if you know this, but your wife was an LPC.
Yes.
Right? Counselor. So was mine. I don't know if you remember that or not, but mine was an LPC as well. Yeah.
Wow.
And so, and I've learned over the years that their psychology is a little different than the psychology that, that we learn from a marketing perspective to some degree. They have a lot of textbook stuff, but the stuff that we, would learn or teach or read from Robert Cialdini is still the same stuff. It's just framed a little differently. And we don't always see it the exact same way, but anyway, it's very interesting stuff. I've been a student of Robert Cialdini for many years, turned on by you, Brian, a long, long time ago. And it's game changer. And
have you read Persuasion?
Say it again.
Persuasion.
I don't. Yeah, that's Robert Cialdini too, isn't it?
Yeah. If you have,
I think I have. Yeah,
you should. And it's
I
all about how you show up. It's all about everything that happens before it happens. Okay. And, I send my buyers a home buyer I send the agents and the buyers. I have a whole agent propaganda package structured in a particular way. I have
Yeah.
an entire home buyer one that is structured in a particular way. And they receive this before they even speak to me. They receive this to set up an appointment with me. And so they've heard and seen all the stuff, way in advance. Not to jump in here, but I'm old, I'll forget. People always ask me, why are you still on TV? How much business are you getting from TV? I'm not getting any business from TV. But you know what I'm also not getting? I'm not getting any questions of what's your rate. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm getting people that go, oh my God. I actually, as queer as this sounds, I had someone ask me for an autograph, which to me was like laughable. I thought they were like, being insulting to me, but they were serious. They really wanted my autograph. You know, I don't know if you remember this, Ken, but I did a very closed door event in Baltimore one time. It was all on persuasion. It was a very high ticket $2,500 event, limited to 100 people. And I was teaching everybody exactly this point. And I went outside during the lunch break to have a cigarette, and there was a couple people around me from the event, a couple loan officers, and a lady walked up on the street and she goes, "Oh my God, you're the mortgage guy." Just like that. This is 10 years ago. "Oh my God, you're the mortgage guy." And I go, "Yeah." She goes, "Well, that's great because I'm looking for," and I gave her my card, but like I couldn't have even planned that. So how you show up matters, you know? Um, what happens before you even have that conversation is actually important. And it's one of the things we talk about in the LO Unfair Edge program.
Yeah, it also kind of leans into, being a celebrity expert in your community.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
Well, you
it's,
are for sure. With your
well,
videos, you are the man. No
I
doubt.
I try to be.
You
I
are.
try to be. But and it's not a difficult thing. Now, it's more than what we have time for to, talk about. It's just not, you don't wake up and you're the celebrity. You just do things very consistently and very intentionally to get to that, to get to that place, and I always call it like being the digital mayor of my town, for many years, like early on, like when I really started learning this thing about being that celebrity expert authority in your marketplace, people thought I was running for mayor for real.
Yeah.
Like they're like, "Hey man, are you getting ready to run for office?" I'm like, "No." It was just odd to me. I didn't even connect it until like probably years later. I'm like, "Oh, that's why people were asking me for so long. Are you running for office?" And
So
that's how that's how loan officers need to be in their business, as though you're running for office.
let's give them a tip. Here's the tip. How do you do it? I'm going to tell you how I do it, and I promise you, I haven't seen your planner, whether it's digital or paper. Mine's paper, so you can see it here. I'm still in the wrong century. Okay,
Yeah. That's what I love about you, Brian. Like you know,
that's consistent.
yeah.
Okay, but I have every Monday for the rest of my life. Okay, every year I put it in writing. Every Monday at a certain time, I'm doing a video and a social media post. Every Friday for the rest of my life, okay, at 10 o'clock, I'm doing a status meeting. At 10:30, I'm sending out status reports forever. Okay. So we're going to share with you a simple secret that's so simple you won't even realize that it's so powerful. Set an appointment with yourself. If you use Google Calendar, just put it as a recurring event. Simple. Okay. I sit for an hour and write literally with a pencil in my planner for the entire year. But it's an appointment and it's no different and it's mentally emblazoned in my brain as if it's a loan application. It has that same power and that same weight, and it's so simple. You want to have an appointment with me 10 o'clock on Friday? I'm not available. I'm sorry. It's that simple. You
Yeah.
have to schedule it with yourself. We used to talk about the $1 million application. What's going to keep you from going to $1 million application? Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
Nothing. Right? So the loans blowing up, processors bitching, whatever's going on. You got $1 million loan app, you're not going. All you have to do is have them sign it because they can't sign digitally. Okay, so they're old. They got to sign piece of paper. You're going. So, you know, so you want to make an announcement?
Yeah,
Or
I
you
want to say something.
want to cover?
Well, you've seen it on my face, didn't you? I just want to
Uh-huh.
say something. Like this is fun. I'm really enjoying myself in this very moment. And I want to speak to anyone that might be listening to this. And I mean this genuinely, Brian. And I'm not, this wasn't planned, like you said. It's like we're going off the cuff here. The mortgage industry, it needs coaches like you. It does. And man, I tell you, when I say that you genuinely changed the trajectory of my mortgage career years and years ago, I've never had that same level of coaching. But I got lucky. I got it early the first time. And I've been through a lot of coaching companies. I even was part of a coaching company, and you kind of lose your way sometimes. And you haven't. You've always stuck to the things that you know and that are true to your business. And I was, I always felt like, going through other coaching programs, knowing what you had taught me over the years, I would look back at what I would hear and listen and learn. I'd be like, yeah, but I wouldn't do that. And this is why. And I'd have to go back to some of the things that you had taught me. So I say all that because it's refreshing. And I just know in my heart, I do, that we are going to be a fresh breath of air for people and getting back to the things that are going to help loan officers change their lives, like genuinely, not just blowing smoke up your ass and telling you, call realtors on Monday, but genuinely giving you information and forcing you and pushing you to change your mindset. I remember coming to your coaching classes, when we'd have our masterminds. I was nervous as a pregnant nun in church going to every one of those. I feared it, right? I was afraid. You know why? Because I knew that you were going to hold me accountable. And you were going to call me out in front of everybody. And back then, I was a people pleaser. I didn't want to be embarrassed. I was maybe a little shy, but not really,
We had people cry at every meeting. You know that.
yes, we'd have
There,
people cry. Yes. But
people cried at every meeting. I wasn't proud of that, but I was.
you know what I call it? It's tough love.
Yeah.
It's tough love. That's
Yeah.
all it was. And it took me a long time to really understand that. And I appreciated you more after I coached with you for so many years than I did when I was coaching with you. Right. Because man, Brian's brutal. He will call you out. Like he will push you to think differently. And when you finally embrace it, and you'll say, Uncle, and you'll embrace it, and then you'll see the results and you'll be forever thankful. So that was on my heart and mind just for a moment. And I just was like, man, I got to get this out because I'm excited about what we're doing.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm even more excited because to have someone of your caliber and your track record and your fresh approach and all the things that you have really been able to impart and live through, Ken. So you lived through some things and
Mm-hmm.
look where you are. Okay. And I'm honored to have you as a partner and a true partner and a partner that also brings a fresh approach. There's things that you've learned post coaching with me that will be very, very helpful. And candidly, I will learn from because I'm still a student too. And I
Okay.
still originate and I still read. I mean, here, I got 5 books right on my desk that I'm in the process of reading. So, once you think you know it all, that's usually the beginning of the end, folks. So don't think you ever know it all because you never will know it all. And I got 2 closets here, literally floor to ceiling full of books on marketing, on persuasion, on all sorts of other things. But, Ken and I put our heads together. We were talking. And the truth is, I think we're both a little tired of what we're seeing out there. And I hope you understand that this is genuinely from our heart. We want you to succeed and we want to be the catalyst. Nothing made me happier. And Ken, you shared you had the same feeling exactly. it's not about the money necessarily. Although, I mean, there's an elephant in the room, right? Of course, we want to make money doing this because our time is precious, right? But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, when I see a loan officer overcome their obstacle and get to the next level, it's just a mental personal charge for me. It's a high. You were telling me you had that same experience, Ken, and you can't explain it. It's just when I can see you avoiding the mistakes as a loan officer that destroy you, and you reach a certain level, you give me credit. I don't take credit at all for you because, or your success. You take credit for your success because you have put in the hours, you put in the blood, you put in the sweat, you put in the pain. You did it. Okay. Maybe I pointed you to the right place, which I'm pretty sure I probably did early on, but you did the rest. Okay. And so that's what makes me so happy to see a peer, a true peer, who probably does some things way better than I do. Okay. And maybe some things I do way better than you do, but you bring them both together and you as a loan officer will absolutely benefit from it. And Ken and I were talking, and I'll let you jump in here in a second. We're racking our brains saying, what can we give a loan officer that's going to move the needle right away, where we're not trying to like rape their wallet and make sense and we can feel good about? So have
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah. And that's in the works. And that's coming soon. And we're going to get there. And it's going to be so irresistible of an offer that you would be a bonehead not to participate in it. You were talking about the library a while ago, Brian. You have a big library, and it triggered a memory. And you always used to say, and I don't know if you still say it or not, you would say poor people have big
Big
TVs
TVs. Yep.
and rich people have big libraries.
Yep. 100% true. Still true.
And
Go through a trailer park. You'll see them all tipping over with with the big
with
antennas on them.
yeah, the big satellite dishes.
Yeah.
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 It's the truth. Um, I want to give everybody some takeaways. Be chaste. Don't chase. Be chaste. Number two takeaway. Um, you really need to understand the psychology of the sale. I mean, I'm just going to leave it at that. There's a psychology and you need to know it. Nobody teaches it. Number three, careful who you listen to, folks. Ken originates every day. I originate every day. If you're watching this and you're a guru, shame on you if you don't originate every day. Because everything Ken and I will show you are examples of what we actually do, not what we think could work, not what should work. We may even share things with you that we do that don't work, so you don't do them. Okay. But you have to listen to people who are actually producing. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you I had a great year last year. I had a shitty year last year. Okay. It was a shitty year. I'm still here. And hopefully 24 is going to be a better year. But if I didn't do some of the things that I do, and I'm sure, Ken, if you didn't do some of the things you do, we wouldn't be here even having a conversation.
Yeah.
So, and I'll tell you another thing. We don't have any ulterior motives here. Okay. I I'm a branch manager of one. I manage myself, and sometimes it's quite challenging. Okay. But the reality is, I'm not trying to recruit you. I don't want you. I won't take you if you come. Okay. I want a very small. I got my mortgage business set up the right way. Okay. But there are people out there who only want to recruit you. That they don't care. That's all they want to do. And you need to be very, very careful. All I'm saying is be careful. If you want to be successful, then you need to emulate people who are successful, and you want to be on a team with people who are successful. Like I know you're building Greenlight into just a phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal place to be. Greenlight will be a good place for you to be if you're a loan officer. Don't come to CMG. I'm not looking for you. Okay. But there are several people out there that disguise their training simply to recruit. And that's honestly, it's just wrong. let the cards fall where they are. The other thing is, I've been blessed, Ken. Do you know how I've been blessed?
You wake up every day and you're alive.
Well, that's an age-related joke for you.
Uh,
No, I've been blessed that I hold myself personally accountable for being an ethical, good person, but I candidly don't give a shit what anybody thinks about me. I just don't. Never have, never will, don't care. And I've had loan officers say, this and that. I go, well, if I'm so terrible, why are you even engaging me in a conversation? Right? Like, don't listen to me. It amazes me. People hate Howard Stern and they listen to him and they hate what he says. Well, if you hate him, don't listen to him. It's totally okay. But I promise you, I'm going to tell you right to your face directly. And I know you're honest that way too, Ken. I'm a little rougher around the edges than Ken is, as you see. But I think being direct helps. I think telling people not what they want to hear, but what you think is right is the right way to approach it.
yeah. I think that what we do have in common though, Brian, is, we're loved or we're hated, but we're never ignored,
Right. Never ignored. Yeah.
never ignored, and your bold stance and your directness, I've always appreciated. I've gotten better at that over the years. I've noticed that as I get older, I care less about what people think. Even in my 30s, it was a struggle for me because I wanted to be liked and loved by all people. Well, man, when you try to make all people happy all the time and realize that you can't, you'll get to a point in your life where you'll stop doing it, right? And that goes for real estate agents and everybody around, because not everyone is the same. We
Not
can't control
everyone
how
is.
people react. Yeah.
Dan Kennedy, famous marketing person, who I had the privilege of working with, and Ken had the privilege of meeting and learning from as well. He used to say, everybody's walking around with their umbilical cord looking to plug it into somebody, right? Well, it's true. And the reality is, and you should know this from your own marketing folks, that if you're watching this, be who you are, be real, be genuine, because the people who love you will love you more, and the people who hate you weren't buying from you anyway. So who cares, right? So we'll do this interesting experiment we used to do in Platinum, Ken, where you actually go through the loans and see who your profile is. Remember that?
Yeah.
Who your agent is. I've never seen anybody teach that either. But it's very important to your marketing to go deep. Look at your last 12 months. Let's just tell them. Look at your last 12 months loans and see what those people have in common, geography wise, job wise, age wise, income wise, and look at the agents that gave it and what do they have in common. And now you have some very, very, very important marketing information that you can make some decisions on in terms of your messaging. So we're up on an hour here. I could talk to you till Monday.
Yeah. I feel like we could. Yeah. We could cover a lot. Yeah. That's for sure.
Yep. So
Let's
go ahead. I'll let you end it.
Yeah. So let's keep on keeping on. Famous quote from Matthew McConaughey, one of my favorite actors, also from Longview, Texas. Just putting that out there. Brian, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to giving and sharing and helping and educating. The loan officer market, guys. We need it. We need this. We need it bad. And I know how Brian feels. I feel the same way in terms of putting our best foot forward and helping you in your business and to move the needle and to provide education, even if it's hard to hear or hard to implement or hard to, get through. So it does, impact and help you grow. And that's all I want. I don't want to just BS people with information and be part of a club that isn't providing value. Okay. Community is very important. I do believe that. I do. I've always thought that community is highly, highly important. I think when you have a community of like-minded loan officers that are sharpening their axe together, and and rowing, in the same direction and learning from each other, that's where the value's at, right? It's not just going to be Brian and I. It'll be other people, in our group and our organization that's really going to be able to help you learn as well. And I know that, back in the day, there's all the members of Platinum. I mean, that was my family, Brian. Like, there's my
Mine
family,
too.
you
Mine
know?
too.
Yeah. It's game changing, and it's definitely going to um, be something that the industry needs, and we're going to deliver it.
Amen. All right. God bless. Thank you, Ken. Thank you all for being here, and definitely want to stay tuned, folks, because some stuff
Yep.
coming down the pike. So, all righty. Have a
All right.
great day.
We'll see you.